Husband wants me to abort an unplanned pregnancy. We have a wonderful toddler. I don't know what to do. A throwaway account for obvious reasons. My husband and I have been together for almost 10 years. We have a wonderful 3-year-old, let's call him Bowen, who is a lot of work, but whom we both love to death. It was a planned and very much wanted pregnancy, and my husband is a very involved dad. He doesn't want more children though due to the amount of work and stress it brings. I would love to have another, but I respect his stance and have been on hormonal birth control since Bowen was born. Fast forward to a few days ago when I started feeling constantly nauseous and took a pregnancy test just in case. Positive. I freaked out, not knowing that I was even pregnant, not knowing how my husband would react, not knowing if everything would work out. My husband took the news more calmly. He considered it for a day or two and finally said that while he feels sad and guilty about it, he can't do it, manage 2 kids, and wants me to abort the baby, as that's the best choice for our family. He thinks that 1 vote for abortion should mean abortion. I'm very much pro-choice, but I feel like I don't really get to choose. I fully agree that our toddler needs 2 happy parents more than he needs a sibling, and it's unfair to bring a baby into this world if they're unwanted by one of the parents. But we're not discussing a hypothetical baby anymore. The baby is already here, and it wasn't my choice either. I know that continuing the pregnancy against my husband's wishes could destroy our relationship and make our lives much more difficult. As a mom, I also know that I need to do what's best for my kids, not what might be best for me. But I don't know how I can possibly go through the trauma of an unwanted abortion and then be a happy mom to our 3-year-old and a good partner. How I can see my baby move on the screen. They always do an ultrasound before abortions here, just like Bowen did, and then take the pills. How I can live with this for the rest of my life, likely not being able to tell anyone in real life, and always wondering what could have been. I don't think that my husband's worst case scenario is very likely, but how can I roll the dice if he isn't on board? Our local abortion clinic offers free counseling and we have booked an appointment for next week. I acknowledge that this is one of the toughest situations a couple can be put in, so it's not surprising that we haven't been able to come to a mutual decision on our own, or even to understand our own feelings. I hope that counseling will help us think through the choices, or help me accept the choice, as it looks now. But if any of you has been in a similar situation, either as the mother or father, and can share some advice or perspective, I would be grateful to read it. I will show this thread to my husband too. Comment. Exactly, they need to discuss what happens to their relationship if she has the abortion she doesn't want. It seems like both options lead to one of them not being able to be with the other. I had an abortion. I fully chose it because it was the best decision for my boyfriend, now husband, and I at the time. Even though I chose to have an abortion, I was not prepared for the immense amount of grief and emotions I'd experience after. For months seeing pregnant women or babies would make me burst into tears. The trauma from my abortion turned into endless nights of sleep paralysis. I felt so much, unnecessary, shame and guilt. I also happened to have an extremely traumatic abortion where I woke up during the surgery and had an extremely rude doctor who told me to keep the ultrasound pictures to remember what I had done. I am pro-choice and I truly think it was the best thing for us at the time, but I did not know how much trauma I'd experience and have from this. Anyone who wants an abortion, I always urge them to have a care plan in place both physically and mentally. You may be the person who has no complications and feel great after, but it's also very normal to feel grief and a plethora of other emotions. The physical pain was ongoing cramping and pain. The mental toll took the life out of me. I agree with what you're saying about her feelings, and honestly feel you didn't stress this enough. Here's why. When I was about 23 to 24, so a few years ago, I had a friend whose boyfriend pressured her into an abortion. She became suicidal afterwards because she felt so much guilt for ending the life inside her. She did end her relationship with the boyfriend a few weeks after the abortion. A lot of people tend to overlook the toll it can take on a person who does not want to do this. It's an evil thing to try to pressure a woman into aborting a child, just like it's an evil thing to try to force a woman to have kids. During this counseling appointment, be very open about the resentment you will feel afterwards, and that you are not sure if your relationship could survive that. Ask your husband if his feelings about the kid are equally strong. Would a second kid really be a deal breaker for him, or wouldn't he grow to love it just the same as Bowen? It sounds like a relationship breaker either way, so she should choose the best option for her with the proviso that she will be doing it alone. It's also not fair to have a child with someone who can't bear the thought of having another one. Next story 2. I am not comfortable with my BIL living with us even though he's homeless. This is a long one, but I will try to keep it as short as possible. Here goes. Me and my fiancé have been together for 9 years, living together for almost 6. My fiancé has always had a very rocky relationship with his family, and so have I. We both grew up in abusive households. I don't talk to my family, but my fiancé grew closer to his mom a few years back when they lost someone very close to them. He has never had a close relationship with his older brother. We'll call my fiancé Jack and his brother Joe, not real names. A few years back Joe broke up with his fiancée of 10 years and became very depressed and had to rely on their mother for support. He moved in with her for almost 2 years, and his son, who he had sole custody of, had to go and live with his biological mother. Over a year ago he met someone new online and he moved halfway across the country to live with her just after a few months of talking. Long story short, that didn't work out and his son had to go and live back with his mother, and his brother became homeless and had nowhere to go. My fiancé decided that it would be in his brother's best interest to come and live with us for a little while until he finds a new place. That was 4 months ago. We live in a very small 2-bedroom apartment and it's barely just enough space for the two of us. One of our bedrooms we converted into a gaming/office room and the other is our master bedroom. His brother has been sleeping in the bedroom and we have been sleeping in the living room on the couch, not my choice. Here's my issue: Jack's mother lives in a big 3-bedroom house and lives by herself. She has 2 spare bedrooms which no one ever stays in. I've mentioned numerous times to Jack that I think it would be better for Joe and us if he goes and stays with their mom, as she has the space and we don't. We have zero privacy and everyone is literally living on top of each other. Plus I only met Joe a few times before he decided to come and stay with us because they were never close, so I felt really uncomfortable from the very beginning. He mentioned it to Joe and Joe said he doesn't want to because he doesn't like the area in which his mother lives in and her house isn't as nice as our apartment. His mother's house is completely fine, it's just a little outdated and old, and our apartment was built just a few years ago. A few weeks ago my Mill also came to stay with us and she stayed for over 2 weeks to help out with the cooking and cleaning and to be there for her son. She stayed in the living room with us, an air mattress on the floor. She went home a week ago and now Joe is already asking Jack if she can come back because he misses her and her food, lol, but I kept telling Jack that I just wasn't comfortable with it. The last straw was last night when Jack's nephew called my BIL crying because he got into a huge fight with his mother and they went straight to him and brought him back home when I was at work. So now his nephew is staying with us too. I was really upset when I got back home and I completely refused to talk to him. He didn't ask or even speak to me before bringing him back to our place. His nephew is supposed to start high school again in a few days and Joe told us today that he is now looking for a high school in our small village. I lost it with Jack and told him that I cannot do this anymore and that I really don't feel comfortable in my own home. I moved to a completely different country to be with him where I don't have anyone, so it isn't that easy for me to just go and stay with family. I told him that it doesn't sound like his brother is in a rush to move out and find somewhere, and now even his son is staying here permanently with his dad. Jack got really defensive and told me that he never asked for any of this and that his family will come before anything, and I have nothing to say as it's his house too. That really broke my heart. I finally told him that if his brother doesn't move out soon then I can't be with him because my own mental health is suffering and our relationship is starting to crack. He told me he would choose his family any day and called me a bitch and a few other hurtful names in front of his brother. I left the apartment and I'm staying in a hotel for a couple of nights until I can think about what my next steps are. For a little extra context, I'm the only one that works. My fiancé and his brother do not. My BIL did work until he broke up with his girlfriend, and my fiancé hasn't worked for a few years because of personal reasons. Jack cooks and cleans a little, but Joe does nothing to help out. He expects everything doing for him. He thinks because he helps pays a little towards bills he doesn't have to help. He did this when he was living with his mother a few years ago, and it's the reason his new relationship didn't work out. Joe told us she kept pressuring him to help her out more. Joe was only supposed to be staying for a couple of weeks at most. Also, my fiancé's nephew's high school is closer to Mill. I know it's a stressful time for everyone, but my fiancé thinks I'm being selfish and unreasonable. Can this relationship be saved? Please, any advice is welcome. Comment. So you were 17 when you started dating your BF, who is 7 years older. And you moved together when you were 20 and he was 26? And did he ever work? Or has he been mooching off you for years? Why didn't you talk to your family at some point? Did he isolate you and ask you to move to another country so you had nobody and he could keep taking advantage? And now you are also supposed to support the other mooching deadbeat father 40-year-old brother? You should just leave and go back to your country. You are wasting your whole life away being used by men. You even are supposed to cook for them. Come on. You need to move out, but just make sure you get your name taken off the lease. Your fiancé is a mooch and allowing his family to take advantage of you financially as well. I can't believe you've been putting up with any of this. Please do yourself the favor and leave. There is no saving, he has said his family will always come first. Forgive me, but I would assume you are his family too after so many years, but I am afraid it seems not. Please know there are plenty of men that will treat you with the respect and love you deserve. Sending positive vibes to your future up. You wouldn't be throwing away 9 years, but saving the 60 to 80 years of your future. The longer you wait, the smaller the difference. I don't see it changing for you anytime soon. There will always be a next crisis. You deserve so much better and are still young. I wish you much strength and happiness for your future.